Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany if you have not been here before, and if you have, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be going through my tips on how I plan my vacations. I have a tendency to do a lot of research before I go anywhere, but the first thing I do, I have notebooks all over my house. So the one thing I tend to do is I have a notebook that's specific for traveling. So in this book, I have a list of where I want to go. From there, I need to kind of pick a specific place. I can never be like, oh, on this vacation. Well, I do have a vacation coming up that I knew I wanted to go to that place at that specific time. Typically, I don't know where I want to go until I'm going. I can't just pick a place. I'm not just like, this is exactly where I want to go next. I don't work that way. So I kind of go through my list and I check and see what I can kind of swing. I typically start with hotels. Ugh, my battery's blinking already. I typically start with hotels. From there, I'll kind of do a quick check of hotels and a quick check of flights, but I'm not super dead set that whatever I'm gonna find is gonna be what I'm gonna pick. But it kind of helps me narrow things down. Another thing that I have a tendency to do is my dad has a timeshare. So this has been super useful to me and Joe because he has a lot of rollover vacations where I can just pay $500 and switch the location. So I will just go through the vacation week that we have because Joe has very set scheduled vacation weeks. You have to put them in the beginning of the year. You can't change them. So I have to go through, I'll go through the list of locations that are available and see, what we can do. Because a lot of the time, they'll be maybe 2 places that you can actually fit into the week that we have available. So that helps narrow things down a lot. Then, I'll talk things over with Joe and we'll kind of come up with whatever we think is best. From there, once we have decided on a location, then I go into hotels. So when it comes to picking a hotel, I go for review percentage or rating or whatever. That is the first thing I look at because stars, I used to think that star ratings were really important, but apparently your star rating only really matters when it comes to amenities. The higher the star rating, the better the amenities are, maybe the better the location is. So you could have a 1-star hotel that has amazing reviews versus a 5-star hotel that doesn't have good reviews, and it could just be because they're in a great location with a pool and a restaurant and a bunch of other things. So I have a tendency, I like to go 3 stars and up. In terms of picking a place, I tend to go straight for whatever one has the highest review and the lowest price. So the review comes first. I will always select 8 and up for reviews, and then I will go lowest to highest in terms of what order they show up on. And I also check every single site. I know Kayak will be oh, we checked them all. That's not true. Because I have gone on Kayak and then I've gone on hotels.com and I will find a better hotel, a better rating on hotel.com for the same thing. So honestly, just check around. And there have been times I've actually found a better price on the hotel website. So literally just check everywhere. Advice, I know a lot of people will do Groupon. Seriously check a hotel down to the T before you use a Groupon for a hotel, because I had to cancel a trip not a trip, I couldn't get out of the trip because I couldn't get out of the flight, and I was supposed to go to a hotel down in Puerto Rico and they had reviews on there about having bug infestations, and it did not come up in my first couple of searches, and then finally it came up like on Yelp or something, and people were like, we keep posting pictures and the pictures keep getting taken down. I don't know how that happens or what, but just be very careful when it comes to booking hotels on Groupon. Make sure 100% that the rating that it actually is, because the rating that they put on Groupon is the rating of other people on Groupon. It's not necessarily the rating of the hotel overall. Do your research. Just trust me. Now, once you have picked your hotel, now it is the time to pick your transportation. Now, this is gonna only slightly differ. So, if you are flying or driving, obviously, if you are driving and you're not renting a car, then this is not really gonna make a difference for you, because the only thing that's really important to you in that case is trying to figure out best prices for gas stations along the way. I believe there's apps for that. I haven't done a road trip in a long time, so I no longer have the app. If I can find it, I will list it down below. Because there's tons of apps for road tripping. And I used to do a couple with Joe. We used to road trip every once in a while, so I was good with that. The other thing is, so when you're renting a car or when you are flying, try and find places that have the lowest price. Now, I am not good with this because in terms of my closest airport and my closest car rental spot are in the same place. The best car rental place I can get and the best flights I can get are out of the same airport. And they are the most expensive to fly out of. And that is JFK. It is ridiculously expensive, and is like renting a car from JFK is twice as expensive as renting a car from LaGuardia. But because I'm in Brooklyn, that's what makes the most sense. So it kind of sucks. But the key when coming to these kinds of things, if you want the lowest price, do this as early as possible. Rent your cars, book your flights as quickly. As soon as you have booked your hotel and you have everything figured out, start considering booking your transportation, because that's where your money is going to go. Because if you wait to the last second, like me and Joe were supposed to rent a car for like a day to go to my cousin's wedding, and because we waited till the last second, it went from being like $150 for the day to $400 for the day, and it is not worth it. So book those things as quickly as possible. Now, another thing I have been doing has been using the app Hopper to keep an eye on flights. It helps because it will tell you when prices are dropping. I have found prices that are cheaper than the price that they told me, but I still like to use the app because it's like, okay, well, prices are down. That doesn't necessarily mean that the price that they're giving me is the best price, but it might still mean that the price is down from where it started. So once flights and hotels are booked, we kind of get into the fun part. I think there's a cat running around upstairs, so sorry about that. So basically that is what to do and where to eat. If you are going on a road trip, another good thing to look at is I will go onto certain sites and check, I go onto the Food Network site and I will map out like where, there are places that you can eat based off of like if they've been on the Food Network, if somebody owns it or whatever. They used to, and I haven't been able to find it. I don't know if this is still around. They used to have a map for diners, drive-ins, and dives, and you could put in your starting point and your ending point, and it would tell you what places were there along the way. And I used to put like little notes. I used to have a notebook that I would just write all of the places that were along the way to my thing. And then I would get, places in the location itself. Now, you can still do by city. You can type in like what city you're in and it'll give you a list of restaurants for like the best thing I ever ate, diners, drive-ins, dives, so on and so forth. I have a tendency to use this site specifically for lunches, dinners, like chilled meals, not so much for my, like, if I have a tendency to have at least one like nice fancy sit down every time I go on vacation. So I feel like that would typically be from OpenTable or from Yelp, and I just go through their reviews. I have a tendency, I'm really good with Yelp. So far, I have not been let down by a review on Yelp. So I have worked in restaurants that were very unhappy with it, but maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know. I'm not getting into that. Anyways, moving on. The best part for me is picking activities. Now from here, I have a tendency to, unless I've picked a location based off of an activity I specifically want to do there, I will tend to go to the hotel's website. Like obviously if you're going somewhere and there's a specific place that you've picked to go, like you're going there for that specific reason, that might like take up a day or two that you're there, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the entire trip. So once I've booked or figured out all of that, I will go to the hotel website, because normally they will say these are the activities and the things to do in this area during this time, this season, that season, you know, all of that, as well as just like regular things in the area to do. Now I do know that sometimes these are things that like they have a deal set up with the hotel, which sometimes might actually discount you. Like sometimes if you set it up through the hotel, it could give you a discount, but sometimes it's just they pay the hotel to put that on there. So you kind of have to go through everything and make sure that that's what you want. Another thing that I do is I go on to Google and I type in the location, and I'm just like for example, when I went to California, I was like Desert Springs, like things to do in Desert Springs, and then I go through the list of all the things to do. And then I would write down all of the activities that I might be interested in or that Joe might be interested in. So that is the first thing I do, and then I kind of check the surrounding area and see like if there's anything that's within drivable distance. Like me and Joe, we ended up doing like 2-hour drives a lot of the time when we were there, because I found a lot of things to do in LA and San Diego and so on and so forth. So the next thing I do after I do all of that, because some of it is like there all the time, and then there's some things that are seasonal. So I will be like things to do in Desert Springs in the summer, in the winter, in September, and then different things will come up, because there'll be things that'll come up, like say you want to go to Colorado, and in the summer it's one thing, but in the winter you have skiing. So you'll have different activities based off of different times of the year, but also you will have different things based off of the month, because sometimes you'll have like a festival or a fair. Like when me and Joe went to California, they had the LA County Fair. So we were able to go to that because I looked it up based off of not just the time of year, but the month. Most of the time, every city, I'm not sure about every city, but a lot of cities have their own website. So it'll have a list of things to do in that city. That'll be like a list. Then sometimes you'll find like blogs that'll have a list. And another thing is TripAdvisor. 95% of the time has somewhat of a list. And that's super helpful. Now, from there, I have a tendency, I go through each thing. I write them all down. I write the cost of each thing so that I know when I'm there exactly how much everything's going to cost, so that I can think about, okay, well, we paid this much for this and this much for that, and maybe we want to do something cheaper today, or you know, we've been doing cheap stuff, maybe we want to spend a little bit more money today and do an activity that is, you know, a little pricier today. And another thing is I try to take note. There are certain things that sometimes if you don't do it in advance, which I figured this out after my trip to Puerto Rico, because there is like a ferry that goes to a specific island. It's supposed to be like one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. And we couldn't go because you have to book that ferry like 3 weeks in advance. So now I have a tendency, I'm like, okay, so what do I need to book that's in advance? Book that now, and then I don't have to worry about it when I get there. So basically, those are all of my tips, all of my tricks, and I hope you found this useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of me, please subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye!